A car that does a lot of things differently. The interior features vegan leather and recycled plastic. Charging the car from 10 to 80% takes just 18 minutes, and you can also use it to charge other cars.
Ladies and gents, welcome to the Rev Check. Today's car is the Kia EV6, as the name suggests, a fully electric car, and I'm excited to see what it has to offer. The design of the car, what should I tell you? It looks really good. Oftentimes you will have cars that somewhat look all the same, but the Kia EV6 has some details that make it stand out from the crowd as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Kia considers this car a crossover, so somewhat an SUV, but somewhat not. And I have to say, it really doesn't look like your typical SUV. It's not that high, even though it has a lot of space, because 2.90 meters of wheelbase are quite a number. We will check that out in a minute. But from the design outside, I really like the car. So the space in the back right here is pretty big. As you can tell, there is quite a lot of leg room. And the seat here, it is still put back. So when I'm gonna sit down in the front and start the car, the seat will move to the front and there will be even more space here. So that's pretty neat. One thing I have to say though is the floor is rather high. So as you can tell, my leg is not completely lying on the seat right here. And if you have even longer legs, then you will be sitting like this. It's okay, the seats are still comfortable, and what I really like about them is you can adjust the backrest via this lever here, and then you can put it back and just lay down, which is pretty nice. You don't have that in a lot of cars on the back seat, so I like it. Let's talk about the interior in the front. Everything looks pretty tidy. You don't have a lot of knobs, but you still have like this button here to turn. I like it. I recently was in an electric car from another manufacturer and they didn't have any buttons, and I didn't like that.
Sustainable materials have been used, from vegan leather trims to seat fabrics and floor carpet made using recycled plastics, equivalent to 111 500-milliliter plastic water bottles.
So Kia had a pretty nice idea. This one here is digital. So if you press right here, it will change between the climate control and the rest. So media, radio for navigation system and so on. This one here is for the volume and this one is for tuning. And if you change, this one will be available to change the temperature, which is pretty nice. So you have buttons for every function. The rest of it, you can, of course, do it at the steering wheel. Talking about the steering wheel, it looks quite good. Down here, you have the button for the drive mode. There are 3 of them, Eco, Normal and Sport, but we'll talk about these when we're driving. Behind the steering wheel, you have these 2 pedals, and with these, you can change the level of recuperation until to a maximum level where you will be able to drive the car in 1 pedal drive. And then you have these 2 big screens, 12.3 inches each one of them, and they come as standard, which is not usual in every car.
What's also unusual is the 800-volt technology instead of 400-volt, enabling 240 kilowatts maximum charging power, 100 extra kilometers in 4.5 minutes.
We're testing the biggest available version right now, which is the 239 kilowatt one. And that will, combined with the 77.4 kilowatt hour battery, give you a range of a little more than 500 kilometers.
During our test drive, we achieved around 400 kilometers in total.
The EV6 is available with 2 different battery sizes, either 58 kilowatt hours or 77.4 kilowatt hours. With the small battery, you will only be able to get 1 engine, which is a 125 kilowatt engine. With the bigger battery, you will have more of a choice. There is a 168 kilowatt engine, a 239 kilowatt engine, and later next year there will even be a 430 kilowatt engine, the GT version. As I mentioned before, with the pedals right here at the steering wheel, I can change the level of recuperation from 0 to a maximum of 4. And yeah, if I put it to 0, the car simply sails if I take my foot off the gas. And if I put it to max level, the car will decelerate very much if I take my foot off, and it can go up to a complete standstill, which is pretty nice. So you can move the car in one pedal drive. Then this is the key right here, and it is a little bigger than usual, so a little longer. It is not that thick, but it's a little longer. But that is, of course, because it has some more functions than just opening and closing the car, but we'll talk about that in a second.
The trunk is spacious and features between 490 and 1,300 liters, depending on the configuration of the back seats.
As I mentioned earlier, the key does have another function that is not only open up the car, but also you can use it to park your car if you have a space where you won't be able to get out if it's too tight. And then you will just press the key and the car will drive into the space by itself, which is pretty nice. Let's talk about the different drive modes. Right now I have the car driving in normal. If I now switch to sport mode, the same amount of pressure of my foot will cause more acceleration. And let's check out what the acceleration feels like. That even made the camera fly away. The car can go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 5.2 seconds, which is quite good for a rather big car. But all of the different EV6 versions are kept at 185 kilometers an hour, of course, to preserve the range. What I like about the EV6, even though it's a rather big car and has 2.90 meters of wheelbase, it feels quite nimble. Of course, it has quite a lot of power, but also the steering is very precise and you can turn the car on a rather small space. So driving into a parking garage or parking lot with that car is no problem. It feels very good. What I found interesting about the EV6 is that it is charged back here. Usually you will find the charging socket of a car somewhere at the front. Right here it's at the back. And what's also interesting, you can not only use this socket to charge the car, but you can also use it the other way around with this adapter right here. You will simply plug it in, and then on this side you will have a regular household socket that you can use, for example, to make a coffee if you go camping or something. And what's even better, you can also use the car to charge another electric car. Isn't that cool? Somebody forgot to charge his car and then you will help him out with your EV6. But I know what you're thinking, don't worry. If the battery from the car drops below 20%, then it will automatically stop the charging of the other car and you will have enough battery to get to your next charging station. Pretty nice feature the EV6 has that you already know from other Kia and Hyundai models is the fact that if you put your indicator on, you will see a camera view of the blind spot of the side you want to go to, which is pretty nice, especially if you're changing lanes on the highway. In the end, my final verdict on Kia's EV6, it is a very nice car. I like the exterior design, I like the interior and the way it drives. Of course, it is a higher price car, but you get a lot for that money, and that way I would say the Kia EV6 definitely worth a buy.
To sum up, the EV6 is a nicely designed crossover with a lot of space, sustainable materials, a decent range, the usual Kia 7-year warranty, and an entry-level price of just under $45,000 in Germany. On the downside, the big battery version will cost you at least €55,000 in Germany.